Imagine for a second that your actual physical body is a highly volatile, publicly traded corporate asset.
Right. And one that is constantly depreciating.
Exactly. Every single time you go to work, you are depreciating that asset through just sheer concussive force. You're managing thousands of miles of weekly travel.
The logistics alone are exhausting.
Yeah, and then you're navigating this labyrinth of highly sensitive locker room egos, plus carrying the emotional weight of keeping tens of thousands of screaming fans invested. And this is a narrative that never, ever ends.
There's literally no off-season.
Right. There's only the next show. So when you look at it through that lens, taking a top-tier performer off television isn't just like a fun vacation.
No, absolutely not.
It is a vital strategy for protecting a multi-million-dollar investment.
That perspective fundamentally changes how you have to look at live entertainment, really. I mean, the surface product looks like just scripted athletics, but underneath.
It's chaos.
Yeah, it's this living, breathing ecosystem of human endurance and economics and just constant logistical triage. We tend to view these massive TV spectacles as, finished products.
Right, like a movie.
Exactly. But we forget that they are basically being held together by duct tape, audible calls, and real-time corporate strategy.
Which is why we're here today. Welcome to our deep dive into the grandest, most chaotic machinery in live entertainment. Because this Monday, July 6th, 2026, at the Allstate Arena in Chicago, WWE is orchestrating one of the most highly anticipated TV events of the summer.
The return of CM Punk.
Yes, we are unpacking the impending return of CM Punk. To the casual viewer, professional wrestling is a pretty straightforward equation, right? A recognizable song plays, the crowd goes wild, a star walks down the aisle, and they wrestle.
If only it were that simple.
Right. But our mission today is to pull back the curtain for you. We've got a massive stack of sources to guide us through this. We have intricate insider reports from Dave Meltzer.
Essential reading, honestly.
We have backstage updates from WrestleVotes and the official WWE match results. We are going to explore how real-life physical exhaustion, complex roster balancing, behind-the-scenes politics, and these sudden, unscripted feeling championship pivots all collide to create this specific Monday night spectacle.
It's a fascinating case study in modern media management. You just simply cannot analyze a massive marquee return like this in a vacuum.
Right.
The context of the entire company, from the bottom of the card all the way to the boardroom, it dictates exactly how this is going to play out on your screen.
So let's start with the most glaring question. Before we can analyze the mechanics of the return itself, we have to dissect the anatomy of the absence.
The why.
Exactly, the why. Why has one of the industry's absolute biggest needle movers been completely absent from our screens since his Night 2 main event loss to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 42?
Well, nature abhors a vacuum, and sports entertainment journalism thrives on one.
Yeah, they do.
When a marquee name suddenly vanishes from the flagship show, and there's no catastrophic injury announced, the immediate assumption from the rumor mill is internal friction.
Of course it is.
The initial whispers were suggesting that WWE Creative simply had zero storyline direction for him following that loss to Reigns.
Which, frankly, strains credulity when you consider the sheer gravity of his character. I mean, thankfully, a comprehensive report from WrestleVotes completely dismantles that narrative.
Yeah, that report was very clear.
It had absolutely nothing to do with a lack of creative ideas. The reality is just grounded in human biology. Punk has been operating at maximum capacity for 3 continuous years.
Right. If you set aside the brief windows where he was sidelined by injury, he's been going nonstop.
Exactly. WWE made a conscious, strategic decision to give him a much-needed break to recharge his batteries before just plugging him right back into the grueling main event scene. I mean, I like to think of this using the old Disney Vault strategy.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Right. Disney used to pull their most beloved movies off the market completely. You just couldn't buy them anywhere. By artificially restricting the supply, they manufactured this intense demand for when they finally opened the vault again.
It perfectly illustrates the mechanism of planned scarcity. The psychological and physical toll of the 3-year continuous run in this industry is just staggering.
I can't even imagine.
We aren't just talking about the physical bumps taken in the ring either. The toll includes the relentless travel schedule, the constant media obligations, and just the immense emotional output required to project a larger-than-life persona to a stadium-sized crowd, night after night.
It has to drain you.
Absolutely. So by taking him off the board immediately after the peak of WrestleMania, WWE essentially put him in their own vault. They preserved his aura,
Yeah.
Now, as they build toward SummerSlam, which operates as their second most lucrative event of the year, bringing him back doesn't just feel like another chapter in a never-ending story. It feels like a premium must-see event.
I do want to push back a little on the viability of that strategy in the modern era, though.
Okay, how so?
Well, we live in an attention economy measured in seconds. In an industry literally built on the mantra of out of sight, out of mind, isn't a multi-month TV absence incredibly risky?
Yeah.
Like in the TikTok era, does absence truly make the fan's heart grow fonder, or does it just invite you to move on to the next shiny object?
That is the exact tightrope management has to walk. It's a calculated risk, but in this specific instance, a biologically and economically necessary one. You are totally right that the modern attention span is fragmented.
Very.
However, true megastars operate on a completely different frequency.
Yeah.
For a mid-card performer, yeah, a 3-month absence might be professional suicide.
People would just forget them.
Exactly. But for a generational talent who has already established a really deep, emotional, and often controversial connection with the audience, absence acts as a pressure cooker.
Huh.
The silence itself becomes a storyline. The fans start anticipating the return, theorizing about it online, and they basically end up doing the marketing for the company.
That makes a lot of sense.
It resets the audience's dopamine loop, so when the music finally hits, the reaction is explosive rather than fatigued.
That distinction between a mid-card act and a megastar is key. So we understand the physiological and economic why behind his departure. Let's pivot to the backstage politics dictating the how of his return.
The fun stuff.
Yeah, because integrating a massive star back into a complex corporate ecosystem requires a really delicate roster chess game. If you read sites like Sportskeeda and What Culture right now, they are citing sources aggressively claiming there is, quote-unquote, no heat between Punk and WWE management.
The classic corporate PR line. Nothing to see here, the waters are perfectly calm.
Right. I immediately view those reports with skepticism. And sure enough, Dave Meltzer at the Wrestling Observer newsletter provides a much more nuanced picture.
As he usually does.
He notes that while the environment isn't nearly as toxic as some of the wilder, apocalyptic internet rumors suggest, it's highly inaccurate to claim there are zero issues at all.
Which is really the only logical reality when you analyze the sociology of a locker room. You are placing highly compensated, extremely driven, high-ego individuals into a pressure cooker environment.
Yeah, and TV time is limited.
Exactly. Television time and main event slots are zero-sum commodities. Friction is inevitable. Strategically, the reports indicate WWE is planning to move Punk to the SmackDown brand to mitigate some of this and balance the corporate ledger.
It's a fascinating logistical move. Raw is incredibly top-heavy with established star power right now. You have Roman Reigns casting a massive shadow, Seth Rollins operating at a very high level. Management has to distribute the wealth to keep network executives on both sides happy.
But here is where the internal leverage of a top star comes into play. Despite the long-term strategic plan to anchor SmackDown, Meltzer reports that Punk pushed vigorously to orchestrate his return on this specific July 6th episode of Raw.
And the geography explains everything. The July 6th Raw is broadcasting live from the Allstate Arena in Chicago.
His hometown.
It's his hometown, and arguably the most rabidly loyal fan base for any individual wrestler in the country. The Allstate Arena knows what they have, and they are leaning into it heavily to move tickets.
Oh, the card is stacked.
Insanely stacked. They're advertising the Usos, Penta, Obafemi, and Javon Evans all alongside Punk's return. But looking at these conflicting backstage reports, the no heat versus some heat narratives, it brings up a really crucial question about the modern wrestling economy.
Okay.
How much of the dirt sheet reporting about backstage friction is the result of genuine leaks from frustrated employees? And how much is WWE management purposefully weaponizing the media? Like, are they strategically leaking half-truths to blur the lines between reality and fiction for you, the fans?
I mean, it is the most sophisticated form of reality television in existence.
Mm-hmm.
The dynamic is a deeply symbiotic relationship between the company and the journalists.
Really?
Yeah.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. Do genuine disagreements over creative direction happen? Of course. But WWE management is acutely aware that a significant, highly vocal portion of their audience consumes these insider reports religiously.
They read everything.
Everything. So if management can take a minor real-world logistical disagreement and allow it to leak with a slight spin, it creates a powerful aura of unpredictability.
So they're essentially crowdsourcing their own marketing.
Precisely. It makes the viewer feel like they possess forbidden knowledge, like they are peeking behind the corporate curtain. But the irony is that feeling of being an insider just compels them to watch the highly scripted, highly controlled television show even more closely.
They want to see the cracks.
Exactly. They are tuning in to see if the alleged real-life animosity manifests in a stiff punch or an unscripted comment on the microphone. It is brilliant meta-narrative marketing disguised as idle gossip.
That meta-narrative is what makes the impending return so compelling. But the backstage politics don't exist in a vacuum, right? They spill directly onto the television screen.
They always do.
So to truly grasp what Punk is walking into this Monday, we need to map out the wildly chaotic landscape that was just established at the recent Night of Champions 2026 event in Saudi Arabia.
The current creative direction of the product is operating at absolute maximum volume right now.
You can say that again.
To understand Punk's place in it, you have to understand the sensory overload of the undercard.
Sensory overload doesn't even begin to cover it. The no-see results read like a literal fever dream of celebrity crossovers and supernatural occurrences.
It was a wild night.
Let's break down the mechanics of this chaos. Trick Williams manages to retain his U.S. title against Ricky Saints, but only after weathering a devastating Revolution DDT. And how does he survive?
This is the craziest part.
Because mainstream rapper Lil Yachty interjects himself into the match, absorbs a brutal kendo stick shot, and then executes a flawless people's elbow.
Lil Yachty. It is a deliberate strategy to manufacture viral cross-platform moments.
And it doesn't stop there. IYOSKY captured the 2026 Queen of the Ring crown, securing a massive SummerSlam shot against Liv Morgan. But look at the architecture of that match. Morgan is systematically dismantling SKY, targeting her leg, locking in a grueling Boston Crab.
Classic psychology.
Right. And SKY only escapes because Morgan is suddenly distracted by being cursed.
A literal curse.
And I don't mean figuratively. She's distracted by an actual hex placed on her by the internet-famous wrestler Danhausen.
Yes.
SKY capitalizes on the supernatural distraction, hits a spectacular Spanish fly, and follows it up with an over-the-moonsault on a visibly damaged knee to win.
When you analyze the structural design of these matches, you are seeing a booking philosophy that prioritizes constant, unpredictable interference and high-spot spectacle.
Tiffany Stratton retaining the women's U.S. title against Jade Cargill is the perfect example of that philosophy. Cargill hits her finishing maneuver, Jaded, which historically ends matches instantly.
Nobody kicks out of that.
Nobody. But Stratton survives purely due to sheer pandemonium. You have a parade of interference from B-Fab, Mitchin, Chelsea Green, culminating in Charlotte Flair sprinting to the ring and striking Cargill with the physical title belt.
Complete chaos.
Then you have Obafemi winning the 2026 King of the Ring in an absolute war of attrition against Jey Uso. Femi survives 3 consecutive super kicks and a top rope Uso splash, only to rally and decimate Jey with a chokeslam dubbed the Fall from Grace to secure his own SummerSlam World title match.
The sheer resilience is insane.
And as the ultimate violent crescendo, Seth Rollins finally concludes a brutal feud with Braun Breaker inside a steel cage, ending the match by executing a superplex through a wooden table, followed by a super stomp.
Incredible match.
So returning to this specific roster right now must feel like walking into a massive comic book crossover event halfway through the movie. Everyone has a superpower, a celebrity sidekick, or a literal hex on them.
It really does feel like that.
So how does a grounded, reality-based character like CM Punk anchor himself in a television universe this wildly colorful?
That contrast is exactly why his character is so economically valuable. The genius of CM Punk's presentation is his role as the gravitational pull of reality.
Okay, I like that.
Right. When the entire ecosystem around you is flying off steel cages, wielding kendo sticks, and being distracted by internet demons, the most disruptive, shocking thing a performer can do is walk to the center of the ring in a plain t-shirt, sit cross-legged, and speak raw, unvarnished truth into a microphone.
He becomes the eye of the hurricane.
Exactly. He is the Batman to their Avengers. He possesses no supernatural gimmick and no celebrity entourage because his superpower is his direct, visceral connection to the audience's real-world frustrations.
That's a really great way to put it.
In a universe populated by heightened, maximalist comic book characters, the solitary figure holding up a mirror to the absurdity becomes the most compelling protagonist on the screen. The chaos of the undercard is mechanically necessary to make his grounded reality feel special.
I see where you're going with that, and it reframes the entire card. The maximalism isn't just noise, it's the contrast needed to make the main event picture work. And that brings us to the most complex puzzle of this entire deep dive.
The SummerSlam pivot.
Yes, the SummerSlam main event picture, which has just been completely blown to pieces.
The logistical roadmap for the top of the card had been an open secret within the industry for months. Ever since the dust settled the night after WrestleMania 42, the long-term corporate plan for the SummerSlam main event in Minneapolis was locked in.
Everyone knew it.
Yeah, it was designed to be CM Punk challenging Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship. It was the marquee stadium-selling match.
But the events at Night of Champions threw a massive wrench into those carefully laid plans. Sami Zayn shocked the entire industry in a triple threat match against Cody Rhodes and Gunther. And the mechanics of this match sound like an absolute car crash in the best way possible.
Oh, it was a masterpiece of booking.
Cody hits a double Cody cutter. Gunther brutally powerbombs Cody through the announce table, temporarily removing him from the equation. Sami capitalizes on the absolute wreckage.
Opportunistic.
Very. Zayn hits his haluva kick on Gunther, miraculously survives a double cross Rose when Cody recovers, and manages to roll Cody up to win his first ever WWE Championship.
From a purely emotional standpoint, it is a massive cathartic crescendo for Sami Zayn and his fan base. But from a logistical corporate planning standpoint, it completely destabilizes the established SummerSlam blueprint.
And the plot thickens drastically when we look at the SmackDown spoilers from July 3rd. Cody Rhodes just defeated Jey Uso to become the official #1 contender.
Right back in the picture?
Exactly. That sets up a high-stakes title rematch between Cody and Sami on the exact same July 6th episode of Raw, where Punk is making his hometown return.
It's a crowded night.
So let's push on the booking logic here. If Punk versus Cody for the Undisputed Championship was the locked-in corporate strategy for months, why abruptly put the belt on Sami right now? Do we look at this as a genuine panicked pivot because Sami's organic popularity became undeniable to the audience? Or is this a highly calculated move to free Cody and Punk up to have a deeply personal blood feud that just doesn't need a championship belt on the line to draw money?
It requires looking at the championship belt not as a prize, but as a narrative prop. Both of those realities you mentioned are likely operating simultaneously.
How so?
Well, first you have the undeniable variable of crowd psychology. Sami Zayn possesses a highly potent, organic connection with the live audience. You can only tease that kind of underdog championship victory for so long before the fans start to resent the booking and the product itself.
They'll just turn on the show entirely.
Exactly. You eventually have to pull the trigger to maintain audience trust.
So they satisfy the audience with Zayn, but what about the millions left on the table for Punk and Rhodes?
That is the beauty of the calculation. Taking the belt off Cody actually solves a massive structural problem for the creative team. A feud between CM Punk and Cody Rhodes possesses enough gravitational pull entirely on its own.
It really does.
The underlying narrative is built on deeply clashing ideologies, massive egos, and the fundamental real-world question of who is the true face of the corporation. That specific story doesn't require a golden prop to sell stadium tickets or generate pay-per-view buys.
The story is the draw.
Yes. By removing the championship from their orbit, WWE essentially creates two main event level programs out of thin air, doubling their drawing power for SummerSlam.
They decoupled the star power from the prop, and when you look at the rest of the chessboard, the sheer volume of moving pieces is staggering.
It's incredibly dense.
You have Obafemi, your newly minted King of the Ring, waiting in the wings with the guaranteed SummerSlam title shot, adding a ticking clock element to whoever holds the belt. You have a desperate Cody Rhodes trying to reclaim his championship just days after losing it. You have Sami Zayn riding the emotional high of his career, desperate to prove his win wasn't a fluke. And walking right into the center of this volatile mix is CM Punk, marching down the aisle in Chicago to confront the man he was supposed to fight at the biggest party of the summer.
It's a logistical nightmare.
But one that is generating maximum television tension because the viewer legitimately cannot predict how the pieces will fall.
The table is set in Chicago, and you essentially have 5 different massive stars, all with legitimate narrative claims, trying to sit at the head of it. It is a highly combustible environment, designed specifically to ensure you cannot afford to miss a single minute of the broadcast.
So let's pull all of this together for you. On Monday, July 6th, you are going to witness a collision of everything we've discussed today.
All of it coming to a head.
You have CM Punk, physically repaired after a grueling 3-year run, returning to his hometown. He is navigating real-world roster shifts to SmackDown, leveraging backstage politics to secure a Raw return, and walking into a television universe buzzing with supernatural curses and celebrity run-ins. A total circus.
He is stepping into a building where Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes are going to absolute war over a championship title that Punk inherently feels a claim to. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I want you to consider a completely different angle as you watch the crowd erupt in the Allstate Arena.
It's an important shift in perspective.
We spend so much time analyzing the corporate machinery and the performers, but the most powerful component in modern professional wrestling is actually the audience. In the past, the crowd was just a passive recipient of the story. Today, you view yourselves as active participants.
They really do.
The fans think their cheers for Sami Zayn hijacked the show and forced a massive corporate pivot. They believe their knowledge of Dave Meltzer's dirt sheet reports puts them one step ahead of the writers. But consider this. What if the machine has simply evolved?
That's the real question. What if the ultimate magic trick isn't tricking the fans into believing the fights are real, but tricking the fans into believing they're the ones writing the script? When Pump grabs the microphone on Monday, ask yourself who is really pulling the strings, the rebel, the crowd, or the corporation quietly monetizing the rebellion?